friends. Then he continues, shameless, inveterate, armored in shamelessness. And then he begins the insults. Dog that he is, he'd never dare to look me straight in the eyes again. In other words, where is Agamemnon? Why did you come, Odysseus? Where is Agamemnon? No, I'll never set heads together with that man. No planning in common, no taking common action. All of this is ironic because, of course, Achilles will, once Patroclus has been killed. He cheated me, did me damage, wrong, but never again. He'll never rob me blind with his twisting words again. And there it is. That's the heart of it. For Agamemnon, Achilles sees him as a person who twists words, a politician. Achilles hates politicians, right? Once is enough for him. Die and be damned for all I care. Zeus, who rules the world, has ripped his wits away. His gifts, I loathe his gifts. That is to say, you can't buy me. No time offered is enough. I wouldn't give you a splinter for that man. Not if he gave me 10 times as much, 20 times over all he possesses now, and all that could pour in from the world's end. Not all the wealth that's freighted. And then he goes into this long list. Egyptian thieves, where the houses overflow with the greatest troves of treasure. Thieves with 100 gates. In other words, his point is, no, not even then could Agamemnon bring my fighting spirit round until he pays me back. Pays full measure for all his heart-breaking outrage. Well, that's a fascinating question to ask. Dude, Agamemnon's pretty much offered you everything in the world, and you're saying you won't fight until Agamemnon pays you back. What is it that Achilles really wants? And of course the answer is respect. He wants to hear from Agamemnon himself, I was wrong, you were right, I did wrong, and you're the better man. Of course we get a sense that Agamemnon's probably not going to say that. And then it's as if Achilles has been going through in his mind all the different things that he's been offered, and then he's reminded that, oh yeah, Agamemnon said that he could marry one of his daughters. And he says it at line 475, his daughter? I will marry no daughter of Agamemnon. Of course, there's some irony here because Agamemnon slaughtered his own daughter Iphigenia to even get to the walls of Troy, right? Not if she rivaled Aphrodite. And by the way, the rumor goes that, of course, Agamemnon was going to marry off, that's the ruse, right? Agamemnon was going to marry off Iphigenia to Achilles, and that's how he got Iphigenia to the altar, and then, of course, sacrificed her there. Not if she rivaled Aphrodite in all her golden glory. Not if she matched the crafts of clear-eyed Athena. Not even then would I make her my wife. No. Let her father pitch on some other Argive, one who can please him, a greater king than I. If the gods pull me through and I reach home alive, Peleus needs no help to fetch a bride from me himself. Plenty of Argive women wait in Hellas and Phthia, daughters of lords who rule their citadels in power. Whomever I want, I'll make my cherished wife. At home, time and again, my fiery spirit drove me to win a wife, a fine partner to please my heart, to enjoy with her the treasures my old father Peleus piled high. I say, no wealth is worth my life. Not all they claim was stored in the depths of Troy, that city built on riches in the old days of peace before the sons of Achaea came. Not all the gold held fast in the archers' rocky vaults, in Phoebus Apollos' house, on Philocyr's cliffs. Cattle and fat sheep can all be had for the raiding, tripods all for the trading, and tawny-headed stallions. But a man's life breath cannot come back again. No raiders in force, no trading brings it back once it slips through a man's clenched teeth. Well, this clenched teeth thing, of course, makes us think about all the people who have died. This is a fascinating line. In other words, if you think about it, what's the point of offering me all the time, all the stuff, if I'm going to die? Now, this will set us up, of course, for the Odyssey. Let's just put it in our notes at 3a right away. Later in the Odyssey, when Odysseus makes his journey into the underworld, he's going to find Achilles down there. And Achilles is going to then echo these very lines when Achilles will say, I'd much rather be dead and rather be alive and a nobody, but still alive, than this amazing dead hero down here in the underworld. Right? But a man's life breath cannot come back again. No raiders in force, no trading brings it back once it slips through a man's clenched teeth. Mother tells me, and then there's this interesting pause. Now, all men are given a fate, whatever that fate is to die. Achilles is a man beyond other men, which is why, again, that word rage is used of Achilles in the opening line of the Iliad, and is only then used to reference the gods, because Achilles is not really mortal in some real ways. Why? He has two fates, not one. Listen to this. Mother, Thetis, tells me, the immortal goddess Thetis, with her glistening feet, that two fates bear me on to the day of death. If I hold out here and I lay siege to Troy, my journey home is gone. But my glory, Kleos, never dies. If I voyage back to the fatherland I love, my pride, my glory dies. No, Kleos. True, but the life that's left me will be long. The stroke of death will not come on me quickly. It's a fascinating question. It's a 3B question if you had the choice between two fates. One, you live a short life, but you gain tremendous fame, Kleos. Or you live a long life, but nobody ever knows about you. Right? One thing more. It's as if he's remembered, oh yeah, there's one other thing, right? To the rest, I'd pass on this advice. To the Greeks, sail home now. You will never set your eyes on the day of doom that topples looming Troy. It's fascinating that he says, you're not going to get into the city, and the Iliad will end without the city of Troy falling. Thundering Zeus has spread his hands over her, Troy. Her armies have taken heart. So, you go back to the great man of Achaia. You report my message, since this is the privilege of senior chiefs. Let them work out a better plan of action. Use their imaginations now to save the ships, and Achaea's armies press to their hulls. This maneuver will never work for them, this scheme they hatched for the moment as I raged on and on. But Phoenix, who is also there, can stay and rest the night with us, so he can voyage home in the ships with me to the fatherland we love, tomorrow at dawn. But only if Phoenix wishes. I will never force the man to go. So there's his speech, 150 lines. It's brilliant. It's brilliant in so many ways. The ways in which Achilles will respond to the offers of Agamemnon. He can see behind the offer of Agamemnon through Odysseus. And he says, I have no interest in it. And I'm not sure that he says, I'm not even sure I have any interest in Kleos anymore. I think I'm just going to go home and live out and have a long life, but be a nobody. He stops at line 523. A stunned silence seized them all, struck dumb. Achilles' ringing denials overwhelmed them so. Next, you can get the sense Odysseus sits down. At last, Phoenix, the old charioteer, spoke out. He burst into tears. So now we got crying on by both Odysseus as well as now Phoenix. Terrified for Achaea's fleet. Sail home? Is that what you're turning over in your mind, my glorious one Achilles? Have you no heart at all? To fight the glutting fire from the fast trim ships? The spirit inside you overpowered by anger. How can I be severed from you, dear boy, left behind on the beachhead here, alone? And it's at this part that then Phoenix will begin to relate his own story. Now, we've got two stories by the old man Phoenix. I don't have time, unfortunately, to read all of them. The first one, though, is we're told that he had to run away from home. It had to do with the fact that his father was messing around with this younger woman, and his father's mother, Phoenix's father's mother, asked, hey, would you please sleep with this girl so that she can, kind of get over, kill the young girl's taste for an older man. That's actually the line at line 551. And he does it, and it works, and the father gets upset, and so he throws him out. Notice again, we've got fathers and sons. Notice again, we've got, this manipulation and the use of sex, especially with women, the ways in which it's all kind of disgusting in so many ways, right? And at first he says, I thought of killing father, and then I just left, because of course that would be bad. He had to sneak out of his house. Ultimately he escapes, and Peleus welcomes him as his own son. And that's then when the relationship between Phoenix and Achilles began to grow. And roughly line 585 or so, he says, and I made you what you are. He's talking to Achilles. I made you what you are, strong as the gods. Achilles, I loved you from the heart. Now notice, this is a different kind of argument than the Odyssean argument. This is the argument of someone who grew up with Achilles, who watched Achilles grow up and took care of him. Watch it. He even goes back to his birth when he was a little baby. You'd never go with another to banquet on the town or feast in your own halls. Never, until I'd set you down on my knees and cut you the first bits of meat. Remember? Right? Is like asking him, hey, do you remember all this? Of course, he can't remember this. He was an infant. You'd eat your fill. I'd hold a cup to your lips. And all too often, you soaked the shirt on my chest, spitting up some wine, a baby's way, a misery. Oh, I had my share of troubles for you, Achilles, did my share of labor, brooding, never forgetting the gods would bring no son of mine to birth, not from my own loins. In other words, I'm your foster father. I'm your stepdad. I'm the one that loves you the most. And he finishes. So you, Achilles, or he continues. So you, Achilles, great godlike Achilles, I made you my son. I tried so someday you might fight disaster off my back. But now, Achilles, beat down your mounting fury. It's wrong to have such an iron, ruthless heart. Even the gods themselves can bend and change, and theirs is the greater power, honor, strength. He says about the gods, of course, they will forgive. They will change their mind, right? And of course, here as well, right? You've got now Phoenix that will say, "Hey, listen, I need you to relent, Achilles," at line 625. You too, see that honor attend these good daughters of Zeus, honor that sways the minds of others, even heroes. If Agamemnon were not holding out such gifts, he says, with talk of more to come, that son of Atreus, if the warlord kept on blustering in his anger, why, I'd be the last to tell you, cast your anger to the winds, defend your friends, despite their desperate straits. But now, look, he gives you a trove of treasures right away, and vows there are more to follow. In other words, don't dismiss their appeal, he says. And then he keeps mentioning this word heroes. Phoenix's rhetorical approach is brilliant. He says, A, I love you as your father. And B, do you want to be a hero? Come on, what are you doing here, right? He then will tell a story about a guy named Meleager. And Meleager was being attacked. The city that he lived in was being attacked. He was mad at his mother because he had killed his mother's brother and she had cursed him. And so he refused to help. And he has this wife named Cleopatra. It's a different Cleopatra from the stories, but this beautiful wife, Cleopatra. And he's like, I'm not going out there and I'm not helping the city. They offer him gifts. He refuses. And then finally, at the very end, his wife, Cleopatra, will in fact say, okay, look, you need to save our city. And he does save the city, but unfortunately, in our story, Phoenix says, after he saved the city, nobody in the city wanted to give him any of those gifts that they had promised. It was, if you will, too late. He comes back to resume, to finish this at line 730. But you, he said, you wipe such thoughts from your mind. Don't let your spirit turn you down that path, dear boy, of not helping, in other words, those you love. Harder to save the warships once they're up in flames. Now, while the gifts still wait, go and fight. So he comes back to the team A. Go. The Achaeans all will honor you like a god. So notice how Phoenix brilliantly ties together team A and Kleos. In other words, you will get all the Kleos you want from your Greek army pals if you come back. But enter this man-killing war without the gifts, your fame will flag. No longer the same honor, even though you hurl the Trojans home. So the argument is, you better take the money while it's sitting on the table and win the Kleos or the glory and the fame as well. Right? The response comes at line 738 and following. But the swift runner Achilles answered firmly, Phoenix, old father, bred and loved by the gods, what do I need with honor such as that? Back again he goes, I don't need Kleos. I say my honor lies in the great decree of Zeus. That gift will hold me here by the big ships as long as the life breath remains inside my chest, and my springing knees will lift me. Another thing, take it to heart, I urge you. Stop confusing my fixed resolve with this weeping and wailing just to serve his pleasure, Atreus' mighty son. It degrades you to curry favor with that man, and I will hate you for it, I who love you. It does you proud to stand by me, my friend, to attack the man who attacks me. Be king on par with me. Take half my honors. In other words, Achilles says, I can't even believe that you're siding with Agamemnon. These men will carry their message back, but you stay here and spend the night in a soft bed. Then tomorrow at first light, we will decide whether we will sail home or hold out here. So notice a little bit is softened for Achilles. He says, all right. Tomorrow we'll decide whether we're actually going to sail away or no. Right? And then with that, he gave Patroclus a sharp glance, a quiet nod to pile the bedding deep for Phoenix now, a sign to the rest to think of leaving quickly. In other words, this embassy is over. Giant Ajax rose to his feet. Now we're getting to the third speech. Giant Ajax rose to his feet, line 760, the son of Telamon. tall as a god, turned and broke his silence. Ready, Odysseus? Now this is brilliant. Notice the genius of this. Ajax gets up. He does not talk to Achilles. He talks to Odysseus. And he says, ready, Odysseus? Royal son of Laertes, great tactician, come. Home we go now. There's no achieving our mission here. I see now, with this approach, best to return at once, give the Achaeans a full report, defeating as it is. They must be sitting there waiting for us now. It's brilliant. So you got Achilles there. Ajax gets up and he says to Odysseus, let's go. This guy, he could care less about the warriors. Now, this is a different argument. Whereas before, for Odysseus, he's going to make a certain kind of argument. He's going to present the argument of course, you've got this teammate that's waiting for you, all this stuff, and at least have pity on us. Old man Phoenix will make another kind of argument. Listen to what, here it's going to be Ajax, very subtle. He's going to use the fighter's argument. He's going to say, I cannot believe that you're going to leave your fighting warriors out there to die and not to defend us against Hector. He says, Achilles, he's talking about Achilles, but he's speaking to Odysseus. Achilles, he's made his own proud spirit so wild in his chest, so savage, not a thought for his comrades' love. We honored him past all others by the ships. Hard, ruthless man. Why, any man will accept the blood price paid for a brother, murdered, a child done to death. We think, of course, about the end of the poem, the Iliad, when old man Priam, king of Troy, will come and ransom for the dead body of his son Hector, and he will bring with him all kinds of treasures. This is what Ajax is saying. This is the way it works. You make a mistake, and then you're able to kind of ransom for it, right? And the murderer lives on in his own country. The man is paid enough, and the injured kinsman curbs his pride, his smoldering, vengeful spirit, once he takes the price. In other words, anybody knows this is what you're supposed to do. Then he turns to Achilles, and he says, you, the gods have planted a cruel, relentless fury in your chest. All for a girl. Notice, he tries to reduce all this down to Briseis, and he basically tries to humiliate into Achilles. Really? This is all for a girl. This is really what we're going to be fighting about. All for a girl. Just one. And here we offer you 7 outstanding beauties, that and a treasure trove besides. And then he says it. Achilles, put some human kindness in your heart. Now we're going to see this human kindness until the very end of the poem. In fact, we're going to doubt whether Achilles is capable of this kind of human kindness. And then when we get to the very end of the poem, we're going to find Achilles with Priam somehow finding his true humanity. But not now. Put some human kindness in your heart. Show respect for your own house. That sounds a whole lot like what Odysseus said about Peleus. Here we are, under your roof, sent from the whole Achaean force. Notice, subtle, very subtle. Notice how Ajax bypasses entirely Agamemnon, and he says, we're here from all of the Greeks. If you say no, you are saying no to your brothers in arms. Brilliant, brilliant rhetorical argument. Past all other men, all other Achaean comrades, we long to be your closest, dearest friends. It's brilliant, isn't it? In other words, he says, you're going to, really? You're going to turn down your friends over this girl? Notice, no mention at all of Agamemnon. All the stuff that Achilles has just said, Ajax bypasses it all. And the swift runner Achilles answered warmly, Ajax, royal son of Telamon, captain of armies, all well said, after my own heart, or mostly so. But my heart still heaves with rage, the opening line of the Iliad. Whenever I call to mind that arrogance of his. Notice for Achilles, he goes back to Agamemnon. Even though Ajax didn't want to have anything to say about Agamemnon, that's where he goes back. How he mortified me right in front of the Argives. In other words, if the Argives want to be my friends now, why weren't the Argives willing to stand up to Agamemnon at the beginning and say to Agamemnon in toto, this is wrong, you cannot do it. How he mortified me right in front of the Argives, that son of Atreus, treating me like some vagabond, like some outcast, stripped of all my rights. You go back to him and declare my message. I will not think of arming for bloody war again. Not till the son of wise King Priam, dazzling Hector, batters all the way to the Myrmidon ships and shelters, slaughtering Argives, gutting the holes with fire. But round my own black ship, camp this Hector blazing for battle will be stopped, I trust, stopped dead in his tracks. So notice we've gone from I'm leaving tomorrow morning, that's what he says to Odysseus, to maybe I'll stick around and see what happens tomorrow with Phoenix. Finally with Ajax he says, I'm going to sit and wait for Hector to come to my ship and then I'll kill him then. In other words, I'll only kill Hector when he comes to try to take what is mine. I could care less about the rest of the Argives, right? So he finished. Wow. And each man lifting his own two-handled cup, poured it out to the gods, and back they went along the ships, Odysseus in the lead. Patroclus told his friends and serving women to pile a deep, warm bed for Phoenix quickly. They obeyed and spread the bed as ordered, with fleeces, woolen throws, and soft linen sheets. There the old man lay awaiting shining dawn. In other words, they put Phoenix to bed with his amazing bed. And deep in his well-built lodge, Achilles slept with the woman he brought from Lesbos, Phorbas' daughter, Diomede, in all her beauty, sleeping by her side. And over, across from him, Patroclus slept with the sashed and lovely Iphis by his side, whom Prince Achilles gave him the day he took the heights of Skyros, Aeneas' rocky stronghold. Well, let's just point out, this is fascinating. After this exchange, right, we've got Phoenix sleeping in a nice bed that Achilles will treat to him in his tent. We've got Achilles in bed. We've got Patroclus in bed. Can we just say this out loud? Clearly, these two are not too upset, Achilles and Patroclus, about what has just gone down. Well, we will have next Odysseus going back to tell Agamemnon, he says no. We're finished now at line 845. So Odysseus reported. Silence held them all, struck dumb by the story. Odysseus' words still ringing in their ears. A long while they said nothing, spirits dashed. Finally, Diomedes, lord of the war cry, broke forth. And we're going to figure out now probably why Diomedes didn't go to as the part of the embassy. Great Marshal Atrides, lord